Starting with the identity wheel, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's all these different spaces around in a circle that have questions for you to fill in. So it's like age, religious or spiritual affiliation, race, ethnicity, all kinds of things like that. And we ask that you fill this in and then answer the questions on the inside, which are like, what identities do you think about most often? What identities do you think about least often? And then so on and so forth. A couple of questions that might come up are the difference between gender and sex. Sex is what you are defined as at birth and normally are assigned. Um, this doesn't necessarily have to coincide with gender, and gender is more about um, how you feel you fit within society and like what your role is in society based off of what society bases gender. And then for race and ethnicity, race is more about like who you are. It's a social construct around like what you look like more so and like where you're from. Ethnicity is more about a cultural identity and has more of a cultural tie. So it's kind of hard to differentiate, but looking it up might also help you. But it's really good to fill this out and then talk about your identity. And I also ask that if you are given the opportunity to go to somebody and talk to them about your identity and your identity wheel, because I think talking with somebody else and like saying it out loud really gets you thinking about your identity and how there are other people that don't necessarily have the same identity and how they could be affected by different things. Next up is the gender unicorn. This is honestly one of my favorite activities to do with people. Um, this just walks you through your gender identity and sexuality pretty well, and it is just a really great tool. So I'm going to start from the top and work my way down. The first one is gender identity. So this sort of goes off of how you identify, and if you see yourself as more of a female, woman, or girl, you see yourself as more of a man, male, or boy, or honestly anything else. And then how this works is it goes from left to right. If you're on the left, you are like 0% not at all feeling like you're a female, man, or other. Um, and then on the right, you're like 100, all the way to the right is like 100%. And then anywhere in the middle, you can put yourself. So you could say, okay, well, I kind of identify with being a woman, but I also kind of identify with being a man. So then you could do like 50-50 each. Or you could just do it 50-50-50 for all of them. It doesn't necessarily have to like add up to 100. Um, Next is your gender expression. Um, there's feminine, masculine, and then others. So this is just sort of how you present yourself to society. So if you dress more in more feminine clothes or more masculine clothes or things like that, you would change where your expression is on this, and you could say you are 100% feminine, 100% masculine, and 100% other. You could say you're not at all any of them. You could say you're somewhere in between. It is completely up to you. Next, it asks your sex assigned at birth. This has female, male, and other / intersex. I think this one's really important, and it's not really something that people think about as being important necessarily, or it's something that's sort of overlooked when you're looking at all of these different identities. But I think it's really good at showing that there's more than just like this, as society likes to think that there's only two genders or two sexes, but there really aren't. And it really shows like how even like assigned at birth, you might not necessarily be male or female. Next is you're physically attracted to. So this is like who your physical attraction is towards. This would be towards women, men, or other genders. You can do 100% women, 100% men, 100% others, or 0% women, 0% men, 0% others. It can be anywhere in between. It's the beauty of being a spectrum. And then the last one is who are you emotionally attracted to. Sort of the same thing as the same categories as physically attracted to. Emotional is more about like who you would like build a connection with, and physical is more um like you'd have a physical connection with. I think it's really important to look at the difference between the two and how it's okay to be more physically attracted to one gender and not as emotionally attracted to that gender, or vice versa. So I think it's really cool how this shows that there's a whole spectrum of identities when it comes to gender and how you can fit anywhere on there and any one is valid. I also know that there are some people who use this every single day. They will go on, they'll pull up a gender unicorn and be like, okay, today I'm feeling more masculine or today I'm feeling more feminine. And it just sort of helps them with figuring out their identity each day and how it might not necessarily be the same as before.